What's good, everyone? Pastor Fred Price here again, and welcome to another episode of House Arrest. As a matter of fact, it is the season finale. Don't say all, because we'll be right back at you with another season talking about more things related to the kingdom. But I figured, why not follow the same trend as the season premiere, in which I brought my bestie, my wife Angel, and we did our first episode. I figured, why not have her close out this particular season with me? So, hi, sweetheart.
Hey,
How art thou?
I am good.
You know, we received a lot of positive feedback from our first episode. People had a lot of good things to say. But I think what it really is people are just happy to see you because
See me on your podcast?
yeah, they weren't interested in seeing me because they see me all the time.
Oh, gotcha.
They hear from me all the time.
Okay.
But everybody's waiting to hear what Lady Angel has to say. And so this format, I think, creates a really comfortable space for you to just flow how you flow because there's really no...
Like not all the pressure, intimidation,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And, not like how I'm going to have you teach Sunday service next week.
Right.
And kind of
Yeah,
like carry it out for like maybe the rest of the year while I just chill on the front row and receive the word like everybody else. Because when do I get to do that?
Exactly. Yeah. It's not
But yeah,
that.
this is I think this is a really good space for you and I to be able to, do what we do, and it helps your comfort level
Yeah.
because, we need to destroy some of the myths that just because you marry a pastor, you have
Right.
to
That
do
you have to
all
do
these
something. Exactly.
things.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that make you feel when you hear about what you're supposed to be doing just because you're my wife?
Right. Yeah. It could be like uncomfortable, or it could be a lot of pressure, and then you start putting the stress on yourself because you're like, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? Everybody thinks I'm supposed to be doing something. Am I supposed to be doing something? I thought I was doing something. So it's like all those, it makes you second guess everything. And then it opens up the space for you to realize you need to have your boundaries, because if not, then you will have so much pressure on yourself to feel like you have to do something. Like, I'm supposed to be playing the piano or singing or teaching like you or something like that. I'm not going to be teaching like you. We're totally two different people. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they would be expecting, but whatever it is, whenever it comes, it's just going to be me.
No doubt. I mean, you have to be a child of God.
Right.
You have to be my wife.
Right.
You have to be the mother to our children.
Right. 3 checks. Check,
Yeah.
check, and check. I think I'm good.
You got all those covered. You do all those very well.
Okay, great.
So here we are again. What should we talk about? I figured something that would really be good for us to converse about and let our audience in on is conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of the ways that we resolve conflicts, and then just some maybe general ways, because every couple is different.
Right.
And then every person in every couple is different and is unique. So we have talked about general things,
Mm-hmm.
like those 4 areas: communication, friendship, and
Division of labor.
division of labor, finances, and lovemaking
Right.
as like the major pillars of the marriage. That if you focus your sights on those and you target perfecting those, then most likely you'll perfect some of the other smaller areas. So I figured we could deal with conflict resolution, and there are so many factors. There are so many things that can contribute to why conflict might arise
Yeah.
in a relationship, why conflict could or potentially arise in our relationship, like something that I just mentioned about, the roles that you play in our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
the roles that you play in life, and then the expectations. Like, just imagine if I did demand these things of you.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
We have a lot of problems.
Yeah, like what kind of peace would
Yeah.
we have in our marriage if I said, Angel, you see what all the other first ladies are doing? Which
Right.
I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole first lady, first family titles and monikers given to ministry leaders. I mean, I understand where it comes from, and I understand why it's used.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but I just want to make sure that, like, our family has never done that. My father never did that. My mother
Right.
never did that. He never said, Hey, ladies and gentlemen of Crenshaw Christian Center, this is the first family. And you call her first lady like he never did anything like that. It just happened over time. But what I love is how you've owned it yourself. You said, well, you can just call me Lady Angel. You know, that'll work.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not requiring anything of you except, again, to be my wife and to be the mother of my children, because man, this is daunting work.
Absolutely.
Think about what I was raised in. Think about how my father is this trailblazing, game-starting and game-changing figure in the body of Christ, and this enormous ministry is built locally and globally. And it's like, well, who's going to take over when he retires or when he's ready to just step away?
Right.
And so a prophecy was given by Kenneth Hagin that the unexpected pregnancy, that child in the womb of Dr. Betty Price, was going to be a boy, and he was going to be the biggest blessing to my father in ministry. And at the time, my dad was thinking, how's that going to happen? I'm almost 50 now. When is he going to help me? But I believe I was at least a decent blessing to him in ministry.
Absolutely. The biggest.
But yeah, he never put the pressure on me that I would have to do this.
Right.
And eventually I would acknowledge the call, and eventually I would absorb all of this. And it's how taxing is it, darling?
It's been a roller coaster. It's I don't know how to say it. It's fun, it's a blessing, it's tiring, it's annoying. It's all those things, I guess, wrapped into one big old present. I don't want to say anything like.
How did you feel about it? Because 2009, that's when it happened. 30 years old, I become the pastor of the church. You're married to me. You become Lady Angel.
Right.
In an instant. 11 years, 2009 up to 2020, because that's when the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but in my opinion, the first 11 years, I just had more lows than highs.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Who can prepare for this? Who can say, oh, I'm just about to step into this and know what to do? There's really no handbook for it. It's not like you got to take a test and say, oh, I know what to do. Or, it's not something you study for like school. It's on the job. It's like you're figuring it out as you go type thing, because you can watch your examples and your mentors and role models and all that, but it's still going to be different because we're all different people, different individuals. And so I think, like you were saying a minute ago, like if you were demanding that stuff from me or pressuring me, I don't think that we would even have a good marriage or friendship, which is the main thing we push, because there will be so much like stress and strife, and then I wouldn't be liking you. And then I would be like, why is he making me do something I'm uncomfortable to do? Why would he push me ahead of God?
Right.
So all of that would disrupt the whole household and everything, because
but I mean,
I'm going to be feisty.
Right.
So.
But you wouldn't leave me, because why would you do that? So we'd just be just miserable, I guess. But
I wouldn't leave you. I'd just be at home and you'd be doing church.
Oh, yeah. And then people would be like, where is his
Absolutely.
wife?
Absolutely. Because it would be like,
and that would be a major
you're not going to
issue.
make me do something that I don't feel comfortable doing. And then why would any leader who gets his instructions straight from God, why would you make someone do something ahead of what God already has told them or set them up to do? So I knew going in, okay, I'm going to be his wife. I'm going to be the mother. I'm going to hold down the household, make sure that's a peaceful place. And then as I get comfortable, then I feel like God will open those doors for me to, kind of sneak in, peek in a little bit, say, oh, I think I want to help with that. Like when we got involved with the homeless shelters and the, the URM. Those type of things I started to get excited about. And then it was like, I think one time, and then my dad kind of pointed out to me, like, you have like an evangelist type heart. Like you want to be hands-on, but you don't necessarily have to be in the forefront all the time. And so I kind of noticed that I was getting that from him. And then watching the way that my mom took care of the house and took care of us as she let my dad go into his calling, I'm like, I need to follow suit to do that. And then what did I get? And then the next thing I got that from was your parents, watching them do the same thing. So it's like I had all those examples around me, so I wasn't gonna just jump out there and try to be in competition with the Bible boss and and be like, I'm a pastor too, or I'm a teacher too. I'm not gonna teach the way that you teach. I mean, I may not even talk to people the way that you talk to people if we have an audience before us or something. So I think I needed to take the time to allow myself to be me and be comfortable in that. And so I'm still a little bit hesitant, just because of all the.
And it's adorable. I just love it. There's 3 ladies in the New Testament that you remind me of. Chloe, the Bible talks about her household of faith. And you were raised in a household of faith, and are also building your own household of faith. And I'm simply just talking about our home, with the kids, like making sure that the faith is first. And then Phoebe, where Paul says, she's been a help to me, so be a help to her. And then lastly, Priscilla. There's a couple in the scripture they mention about 4 times, Aquila and Priscilla. And the Bible talks about how they ministered together. And we do a lot of that. So I love the role that you've stepped into. And let me go back to the highs and lows when I'm talking about more lows than highs. You just don't know. You have an idea, especially taking over from, especially if the person you're taking over from happens to be your father, and you have this idea as to how ministry is going to play out,
right?
And when that doesn't happen, you just it's like a little disappointment here, a little disappointment here, a little disappointment here. There's a disappointment when the people just expect you to do the same thing that dad did.
Right.
Well, why are you changing that? That's not how your dad did it. It's like, okay, so what do you want from me?
Yeah.
You want me to be him? Because I'm already not him.
Right.
I've got about 32% of his discipline.
That's the same about people want me to be like your mom. I'm like,
they're not even asking you to be like your mom.
I was just gonna say that. I'm like,
well,
what about my mom? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of frustrations that add to that list of lows. Not that it hasn't been a satisfying experience.
Right.
Because lives being changed via the power of the gospel
Absolutely.
That's
the best
golden.
part. Yeah.
That's the best part. And like you said, being able to go to Union Rescue Mission and work in the kitchen and then serve the people. Like you can't pay us for those kinds of moments.
Seeing people get their prayers answered, people
Absolutely.
who want to have babies, people who want to be married, and then next thing you know, you're doing weddings and you're dedicating their babies and
oh my gosh.
all kind of stuff.
So it sounds like the highest point of joy in ministry has to do with people. And the lowest and most annoying point in ministry has to do with people. Look at that.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I were to force so many of these things on you, I think we would have some serious issues. I mean, there were times where you might remember this, where I came home yelling at you and yelling at the kids because of a bad day at work. And I would feel horrible about it later. And
out of your frustration, you just take it out on us.
I didn't do it a lot, but I just remember one time in particular, and you bucked back, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, my bad. Yeah, I wasn't thinking when I walked in through the front door.
Right.
But do you believe that the ministry has gotten in the way of our marriage? Do you believe that it has hindered in any way?
In marriage? No. I just would say that there are moments where you're like meaning me, where I'm like, are we supposed to be doing this? Do we want to do this? Are we supposed to be doing this together? Should we leave? Should we stay? It's been moments like that, but I don't think anything has ever hindered us to the point where I'm like, I'm out this marriage.
Right. So basically, I've been awesome. I just want to make sure that the viewers clearly understand what it is that you're conveying to them.
You are awesome, sir.
You're awesomer.
Okay.
Look at that.
Like how you flipped that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, yeah, I would say that you're awesome And one of those key things that we talk about, which is friendship, I feel like if we didn't have that, bro, I'm out of here. Because if we didn't already have that in marriage, I probably would have said, you could do this church thing by yourself.
No doubt.
Like, I don't need the judgment. I don't need you have to be careful what you post. You have to be careful what you wear. You have to be careful what you look like.
Post?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like social media?
Yeah, all of that. It's hard. It's tough. Just people act like you're just not a regular human being. So it's like
Right.
you get criticized for everything. Like, who wants to live life like that? Like, I just see people on Sundays, they out having brunch, they laughing, they doing whatever. They didn't even go to church.
Wait, how about the people on Saturday night, like the fellas
Yeah.
who are like, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm gonna wake up, and I'm gonna sit in this chair, and I'm gonna watch football all day.
Exactly. I'm like, wow, that's starting to look good on that side.
Must be nice. You guys stay out late Saturday night because you're not going anywhere tomorrow.
Yeah. You don't have to go be before people. And so,
And we get
of
to
course,
go
somebody would say, well, you chose that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody put a gun to our head and
Yeah.
made us do it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
But we didn't choose all the other stuff to come with it, from those blessed saints.
Yeah, and that's and you can't choose that.
Exactly.
Like if you're going to acknowledge the call to ministry and then accept it,
Yeah.
accept the charge, all of this comes with it.
Right, right.
And you mentioned social media. How much do I love social media, my darling wife? Isn't it my favorite?
You love it so much. It's your
Pastime.
favorite. No, you don't like it at all.
I remember. Now, let's really qualify it.
Yeah.
Because I can go on social media. No, my niece, she's in here somewhere. She's gonna call me right now. She's gonna be like, "That's the loser that I love." Like that, he's a dweeb, totally. I'm going on social media. I'm finding everything Marvel, DC,
Right.
wrestling,
Shoes,
shoes,
foodie.
Jordans specifically,
Specifically, yeah.
Jordans, food, and then just random stuff about the ocean, the universe.
Right.
Like when I go on social media, those are the kinds of things that I'm looking for.
It's with a purpose. You
because
go on with a purpose.
I'm going with a purpose, and when I
Yeah.
go on social media, I'm going on there to be by myself on there.
Yeah, yeah.
But social media, as Pastor Fred, I'm just, it's just. I remember one time putting up a post on my page. We were at WWE SummerSlam. And I know that some of the people that support the ministry are like me. They're wrestling fans. So
Right, yeah.
this is just another touch point to where we can relate. So I'm just putting this post up.
Were
Like,
you with the kids?
we were with the kids
Well,
and
our family,
everything.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
a
yeah.
family outings. And see, that's why now I don't even like, I don't like doing any of that anymore on
Yeah,
social media.
yeah.
Because, and then if you think about it, it's already weird. I see it as weird. It's like, why am I telling you everything I'm doing? Why am I showing you everything that I'm doing? Because when social media didn't exist, you didn't know I had Raisin Bran for breakfast. You didn't know. But now you know. Because I had to put up a post today that said, well, so I started off my day and it's already just weird anyway. But it's so common that if you're not on social media, you're looked at as weird.
Right.
What's
You're
wrong
like,
with
what's
you?
wrong with you?
You
Yeah.
don't have a profile
Yeah.
page. You don't have a social media. You don't have
Yeah.
an Instagram. You don't have a. You remember how long it took me to even get on there.
Right, right.
So, but that going back to that one time where I put up a post about us at a wrestling event, and it's like there was like negative judgment about. I mean, it's sports entertainment. I mean,
Right.
it's an athletic. Scripted, yes, but it's an athletic event. Like, why am I?
Right. Like, but we were with our kids. We're having family time. Like, that's what I mean about not being normal. Like,
Right.
people want to treat you like you're not normal. Like, you can't do normal things. Like, you can't go on a vacation. You can't go to a basketball game. You can't go to the movies because we're Christians.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird part.
Yeah.
So, and too, you just don't expect so many Christians to be so negative or to put their opinions out there. It's like, wow, I just was sharing a beautiful moment, and then you just tried to make it so negative.
And so now you share all the beautiful moments.
But I still am limited on what I share, and I'm
True,
limited
but-
on the
but
kids
you are
and
the
everything.
One, you are much
Right, I
more
will be the
active
social one, exactly.
than I am on
Yeah.
social media. Matter of fact, you handle social media for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
'cause
I'm
you're like-
grateful for that because, and I'm glad that it's not a source of contention for us.
Right.
To where you're like, No, Fred. If you can't go dark. You have to do. I mean, I'm grateful that you're not telling me what I need to be doing or should be doing
Oh yeah, no.
as it relates to social media, but that you can handle the bulk of it for me, and so I'm grateful to God for that.
Yeah, it's easier for me to ignore the people or the negative
Yeah,
people, I should say, than you.
it's
Because unless you're gonna go talk about my kids or something like that, even if they talk about you, I get a little riled up. But I won't go after people because how can you stop that
right.
domino effect of people being negative?
And I'm not really. People are going to talk about me. That's fine. It's when you're stupid. I think I'm allergic to stupidity, and so when you just say the dumbest thing,
Right. Then it's like I need to
or
address you.
when I can clearly tell, wow, you're talking about the word and you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but some of those conversations those back and forths I've allowed to go too long, and then
Yeah.
again it turns me off, and I'm like, yeah, I
And
don't
those
want to be
people
on
just
here.
are looking for attention. They're
Yeah.
looking to be seen on your page or platform. So, yeah. So now it's just like I don't have to do this. I don't have to take up my time doing this. So why am I doing it? So yes. So we help you out.
Yeah, and I think social media is probably a prime avenue or route for you to engage an audience and to do ministry,
True.
because
I feel
like right
comfortable there.
now, I mean, think about it. If I told you Sunday you're teaching, I don't care what you say. Well, first off, we already know we're gonna have some problems,
Oh yeah.
but you standing before a room full of people, that would be a bit challenging for you.
Absolutely.
Yet, here we are. No one's in here except our production team. That's a small group, but way more people than those who show up on a Sunday are going to see this.
Right.
And look how comfortable you are.
Right. I think I don't feel the pressure and the eyes and it's the whole living in a fishbowl. Like I don't feel like people are tapping on the tank. Like, hey, you, look at that fish. So I feel comfortable on social media, and people, young girls or young adults they DM me, and I feel like that's a part of my, you know, ministry of talking to people and giving advice and little things like that, because it's not like I had to study for that or put all this pressure on me. I'm just taking the wisdom that God has given me, taking my life experiences, and that's the way that I'm giving advice. Or this, with anything I could do with the tag team with you, I already feel comfortable because I know that whatever you do, I can just kind of jump in those, little waves there, and we can work that part out.
Right.
But like outside of the stuff I am doing on Sunday mornings, I'm nervous because there's like so many people looking at you at one time. I probably couldn't do more than that right now. So,
Yeah.
and I used to always have this thing too where I don't like how I sound on a microphone because, my voice is a little bit deeper than most female voices. So I always was nervous about that, but now I don't care anymore. So,
Yeah, and people love hearing. If you stop doing the announcements, we'd probably have a drop in attendance because people are like, wait a minute, we finally got to hear from.
right. And now she's not there.
Now she's not there. So, and again, and I believe because people were hoping just off of the first episode of this podcast, people were like, oh, is this something you and Angel are going to do all the time?
Oh, right. That it was our thing.
Is it because
Yeah.
they want to hear from you? And I think it's awesome that they do.
Yeah.
I think the amounts of you that we give them will be just enough to whet their appetites and have them
Right.
desiring more, wanting to hear more from you. What else is on the inside of you? What else does she have to
Right.
say?
Maybe I'll like it enough to do my own or something. Then you'll have to be my guest. So we'll see.
And I would wager because your own would probably be more specific than mine's.
Because I'm a girl, right?
Because you're a girl,
Yeah.
so you probably have more views. You probably have more followers, and I would love that. That would be awesome if this podcast evolves into a podcast of your own. But again, I would say to any couple, I guess we're still a young couple. I mean, I just turned 45. I mean, that's not old, but that's not young. I turned 45. You're 42. I need you to hurry up and be 43. Like, can you speed that up?
Stop trying to rush me to
And
be old.
if there's any couples like us, maybe around our age, and they are in ministry, I just encourage you husbands, like, don't try to follow a trend that you see in the body of Christ
Right.
from the generations that came before us. Like, allow your wife to flourish on her own, to grow into whatever God is calling her to grow into,
Right.
to whatever God is calling her to be, whatever God is calling her to do. Like, let the Lord minister to her about that. Everything that this lady has wanted to do in ministry, it came to her, and then she came to me. It wasn't me going to her saying, you better do this. So let it happen organically, let it happen naturally, because that's going to keep the peace in your home.
Yeah.
We butt heads, but I remember one time I watched my parents have what I thought was an argument. I thought it was an argument, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was happening. It was in my bedroom. I think I might have been younger than 10, maybe a little bit older. I might have just become a teenager, but I was young for sure. And I remember saying, wow, I've never seen you guys argue. And my dad said, oh, we weren't arguing. He said, this was just a difference of opinion. And in actuality, that is what it was. When I play it back in my mind, it was a difference of opinion. She never raised her voice. He never raised his voice. And everybody knows, my dad knows how to raise his voice.
Right.
But this particular back and forth, it really wasn't an argument. It was a difference of opinion. They both held their ground. They didn't change each other's mind, but it wasn't the end of the world. And so you and I, we have our moments where
We raise our voice though.
yeah, there've been some raised voices. You can probably imagine that she gets on my nerves sometimes. I never get on her nerves. Come on, guys. You all know the real. No, we as a matter of fact, what's hilarious is that all of from Adrian to Stephanie to Cheryl to Angie to Dr. Betty, although she's sweeter with it, but they all love to occasionally.
And Nikki.
How does Nikki do it sometime? I guess Nikki does it sometime. But they all know that you married someone special. And they will occasionally just remind you, Angel, remember, he's special. He's...
Oh, no, Nikki doesn't say the special part.
See, that's Adrian on up.
That's
That's not really Nikki. He's his father's son. And I have a lot of my father in me. And so I have some unique ways. There's some OCD. I mean, this woman is amazing that she can manage my OCD is minor. It's so minor that I don't have a problem owning it because I actually like it. It's not, I don't have to turn a doorknob 16 times. It's not.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Because that part.
Yeah, it's.
No, that would be extreme OCD, and then it would be.
Right.
Some problems.
But it might be, there's a reason that I want the almond milk on this side and the regular milk on this side in the fridge,
Right.
And if they're turned around and the labels aren't facing out, then
right.
Whereas in the cabinet with the cereal boxes, the nutrition facts have to be
right.
facing
That's the
out.
kind of stuff that I've learned to just live with and deal with. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, but it makes sense to him. So fine, we'll turn all the cereal boxes the same direction. But then I like to do things like get on your nerves, so I'll turn the boxes the other way.
Oh, is that you? Are you the one doing that?
No, that's the kids.
Okay.
They've learned it to deal with it too now, but
right.
I'm saying if there is something, I'm like, I'm going to get under his skin.
No,
then I'll do that.
This is perfect. You just mentioned the kids. Wasn't it the cutest thing yesterday when you asked our 3 children about daddy? You're like, you guys think daddy's extra? you think he's over the top sometimes? Their responses were hilarious, especially Gabriel. He was like, yeah, that's it. Sometimes dad is just, it's not that serious. I love it.
I love
It's
it.
hilarious. It's like they know their dad.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that I did when they were younger that would immediately make them cry. And now they're like, okay, dad. All right.
We all got tough skin because we just know that. I think that's what women have to do in marriage too, is that you have to end up learning your spouse and getting tough skin, because all the fussing and stuff that you do, I had to just learn that that wasn't even about me.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Like if you're fussing about something, in other words,
No. I'm throwing
here we
down.
go. Here we go.
Throwing
This
down
is it
the
right here.
gauntlet.
Here we go.
What do you mean? All the fussing that you do?
Okay, that you used to do. I'm talking about the growing. You used to do it in the beginning, and I'm just like, in my emotions, crying. Why is he yelling? Why is he fussing? I didn't do anything. I didn't do it on purpose. That was how it was in the beginning of marriage. I'll say it that way. And then over time, when you learn your spouse, you go, oh, that ain't even about me. He just being him. So now it doesn't affect me. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna be upset. I'm just gonna be like, okay, whatever.
You learned the Dr. Betty method.
There you go. So just especially if it's nothing that has directly with me, I'm just gonna ignore it. Like, okay, he just fussing.
No, and you've told the kids numerous
I
times.
told them, yeah. I'm like, that's not about you. He's just fussing. So now we all know you, which is why yesterday I could say, are you guys, when daddy's fussing, are you still getting your feelings hurt? Are you upset? Or are you like, what's going on? Or are you just like, okay, that's just my dad? And they all were like, yeah, he's extra and that's just my dad. So it was brilliant. I'm like, great. They're not having any kind of,
Right. Yeah. Whatever. So, no, I love it because I'm a nice guy.
You are.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy. Like I'm not mean.
Right.
I'm not looking to be mean.
Right.
That's not my goal or anything. But
And the things you're fussing about really is not anything in the household. It's like something that, like a food delivery. It's something that had to come into our household. So it's not something that in the house that caused you to fuss.
yeah,
It's like things that you, like you just said, you don't like when things are stupid. You don't like when
Yeah.
people do stupid things. So it's little stuff.
I'm glad that I have the balance of my mother in me.
Absolutely.
Because I probably would be identical to my dad.
Right.
Because he was a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, nobody knows that the person he was the hardest on was himself.
Right.
I mean, he was tough on himself. So because he was tough on himself, he was tough on everybody else.
Right.
And he would let himself know when he disappointed himself. Like that was my dad. And so I have a lot of that. I don't have as much.
Right.
Because
You have a balance.
The nonchalantness of my mother, which you have quite a bit of, where it's just like, yeah, get over it. It'll be fine. It's okay.
Right. I'm like, you're the only one who knows that, Frederick. No one else can see that something is on your, shoe or whatever.
Right. Or my tie was leaning to the right.
Yeah, I
Oh
didn't
my gosh.
notice it.
Everybody probably noticed that my tie was leaning to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
Just little stuff.
So back to what I was saying about our little, back and forth that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
22 years of marriage. We just celebrated 22 years of marriage.
Right.
Married on our my parents, your parent-in-law's
Mm-hmm.
parents-in-law anniversary. We got married on their 49th. So that
Right.
when we celebrated our first, they were celebrating their 50. So they would have been celebrating 71 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. The 22 years of marriage, I believe overall, and I really think it's the friendship
Mm-hmm.
that does it, because again, there's a number of reasons for us to go at each other or to be annoyed with each other or
Right.
irritated with each other about something. But I mean, I can honestly say we have way more good times
Oh yeah, absolutely.
than we do. And I think it's because we made the choice. Like we're going to communicate effectively.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to like each other. Like if we don't like each other, then why are we here?
Absolutely.
If
What
we
are
don't
we doing?
like to be around each other,
Yeah.
then why are we here? I think sometimes that may cause certain conflicts and relationships to last longer than they should, because
Yeah.
the individuals in that marriage barely like each other.
Right. That's what I say. They're not like friends. We've counseled people, and I'm like looking at you like they don't seem like they like each other. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how they hooked up and got married, because you don't sound like you were friends. Like when you go, we don't really have anything in common. I'm thinking, how did we get here? What do you mean you don't have anything in common?
Yeah, if your marriage is only a business deal,
Yeah. Why waste your time?
if you're not in the marriage yet, you should pause,
Yeah.
reconsider. If you're in the marriage and you've been in the marriage for some time and it's still a business deal, like we do these parenting things together, and we communicate with each other or talk at each other because we have to regarding the kids.
Right.
If the kids aren't really the subject matter, we're not really talking.
Right.
Since we gotta have like 2 or 3 of them, we'll go ahead and stay together until they all
older.
graduate, or the last one graduates high school.
Right.
Like, these are some of the reasons that people end up staying together in a marriage, and they're miserable.
Right.
Like, we've seen miserable men. We've counseled people who are just miserable in marriage, thinking, we're gonna stick this out for the kids. And every once in a while, you have a situation where it does work out. But if anyone thinks that kids are gonna fix a marriage, they're not.
Right.
Right? They're not gonna make the problems go away.
Yeah. Some people choose to say, okay, let's have a conversation about why this marriage isn't working, or what can we do to fix it or make it better. I mean, if you can't watch a show together and laugh, you can't go out and have a date night, you can't not be talking about the kids. Like, talk about anything else but the kids. Like,
we just had a date night.
Oh yeah, I know. That
Our
restaurant was
anniversary.
amazing.
That restaurant, like that fried rice though, right? I don't understand. That food was seasoned so well.
Yeah, that food was, we need to go back there.
We do.
But I just feel like if people can't communicate, you can't be friends, like, then why waste your time doing that? And then we definitely not about to say, let's wait till the kids graduate. So I'm just supposed to be miserable? I don't know, like, because, sometimes the woman wants to do something like go on a real vacation, and the husband's never ready to stop and go on a real vacation. Like, then that means your kids didn't go anywhere either. Your kids didn't experience anything. Your wife didn't experience anything. And you were fine with just being at home and not doing nothing.
Yes.
That doesn't really go. But then she can't go alone with just the kids, because that's a problem. Like, how?
Right.
Make it make sense. If you don't want to go on the vacation, fine. But we're going to go. So, it's all those different things. And all that would just, those things can be fixed if people would just talk.
So what do we do when we do have that heated moment?
Oh, like, how do we fix it or solve it, or?
Yeah. What are some of the things that we've done?
the whole timeout, like.
Oh, so you put me on timeout? That's what you're telling the people?
No, the timeout method. So basically, if there's a disagreement or an argument or whatever's going on, the timeout is you got to take a break. Like, go to your corners, take a break, which means get your thoughts together so that out of anger and frustration, you're not just saying anything that could hurt later still, because words hurt, they linger, they loop around in your head. You can form a whole another situation off of words that someone has said to you. So really, timeout means go take a break and say, okay, I need a moment to gather my thoughts. I need a moment to figure out how to have this conversation with you without arguing and yelling and, all those type of things. And then you have to also set the boundaries in the timeout. The timeout can't go longer than a day or 24 hours. That thing where that's the advice that people always give you.
Back in the day.
Don't go to bed mad. Like, girl, sometimes you might just have to push that to tomorrow. But to each his own. You can do whatever you got to do for your household.
When is the timeout needed, though? Because it's not like you and I always need timeouts whenever there is a disagreement.
No.
I mean, some we can resolve in
Instantly,
2 seconds.
Yeah.
So the timeout is for when after a while you realize we're not getting anywhere here.
Yeah.
We're not hearing each other.
Right.
We definitely aren't listening to each other.
Right.
So we don't see each other's perspective, viewpoint.
Right. We're not listening because we're just ready to spew our stuff out. So it's like, I'm not even hearing you because I'm ready to spew whatever I want to say out to you. And I'm like, hear me. And then I'm not even hearing you. So that happens a lot too, where either the woman's just yelling and she's venting all of her stuff out, and the guy ain't even listening. Now he's like, no, let me get my stuff out.
Remember that one time we had it was heated. I couldn't understand. A part of it obviously was because you were pregnant, and you all's emotions do something else otherworldly when you're pregnant. But
or do you guys take us there? Which
really?
one? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not really thinking this was. We had this. We were having this argument in front of your mom. Do you remember? And she got loud.
My mom did?
Heck yeah, she was like, "That's enough." And we were
wow.
2 full-grown adults, but she shut us down really fast because she was like, no. Because it kept going. It was over an episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. You don't remember that?
Oh my gosh.
And it was in that moment that I said, there's no way I'm going to let these fake marriages on this unreality TV show be a hindrance in my marriage. And I divorced you in that moment. We had a instant divorce party from watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. I was like, we ain't doing this no more.
Dang, you had to say all of that.
What? Say all of what?
The whole everything.
I'm just saying we liked watching the stupid rigidity that it was, and
I do remember that.
Yeah, but you were pregnant though.
Yeah.
So your emotions were, and something happened on the show, and you and I saw it 2 different ways, and
Right. That's okay. Yeah, I do remember that really now.
But bro, y'all, like she was starting to really get heated about it, and I was like,
Because
wait a minute,
because it was so simple, and I'm like, why don't you see it that way?
And I was like, why don't you see it that way?
A real life example of people, and I said, well, if this was such and such and such and such, would you still feel the same way? I'm like, how come you can't put that in like the terms of if it was our friends? I didn't understand why you couldn't get it. I do remember that.
But isn't that what happens? You're over here saying, I don't understand why you can't see it my way.
Mm-hmm. But I actually feel like that was a common sense way. But I think that's why I didn't understand why you didn't get it.
Matter of fact, how about we do this? Let's make sure that in remembering this, we don't get heated right now. Because again, I thought my point was clear and simple, as did you. So here we are. But anyway, but we kept going back and forth, and your mom's probably watching this right now. Now she's got like superhero memory and super hearing now. She probably heard us doing this podcast before it aired. Like that's how
Right.
amazing her hearing is now. And she was like,
Yeah.
stop it.
Right.
It's amazing how no matter how old you are, your parents will still parent you.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that was one of our heated ones, and there was no timeout.
Yeah, we hadn't even had created the
I don't think
timeout
we
method.
created it yet. I just went upstairs to the room.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, I'm gonna just do something else, because when it was all said and done, I just felt like something so irrelevant as a TV show was the start of this heated argument with the mother of my children. Like, none of these actors care anything about us. They're not
Right.
thinking about us. So why am I about to let a disagreement that happened on the screen be a real disagreement, a lengthy disagreement
In real life.
in real life in our actual marriage? But I remember that was one of our heated ones, and I can't really say that it got resolved. I think we were just like, whatever, moving on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just didn't talk about it no more.
And sometimes that might be the case where you want to try to resolve everything, but
Sometimes you just need time
yeah, and sometimes
space.
and sometimes time and space will just cause it to just, especially if it's like that wasn't an issue that we needed to like repair so that our marriage could stay on the trajectory that it was on.
Right.
So our space to come back and talk about it wasn't required.
Right, no. It was just like, he sees it his way, I see it my way.
Yeah, and then it was like, whatever. Like, okay, what's for dinner?
Right.
But when we do have our conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
we're butting heads. You know, how do you believe this method that we've come up with? And we're probably not the only couple that's come up with this or that does this.
Right.
But I mean, I believe it aids us.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I don't really see it any other way to do it.
Right.
I think that's our way now. So I'm like, well, that would need to be the way with anybody that you have a conflict with. It's like, this is how you should handle it.
Now what
to prepare yourself. Take the time out to prepare.
What about when it's and by the way, you know, we're kind of just having this like back and forth conversation about just real life things as it relates to marriages, but we both go to God about each other, and we have our own strengthened relationships with the Lord. We seek the Lord. We pray. This woman prays. She's probably a little more disciplined than I am as far as when she prays. Like, my praying regimen is whenever. It may not be the same. I mean, I pray for my food all the time.
Right.
I pray when I wake up and when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
But everything else, it's unorthodox, as is my, people always ask, Pastor, how do you study? I don't know if you want to know the answer to that question
Yeah.
because it's not quite normal.
Right. Yeah.
So my whole walk with God is an abnormal, unorthodox. But what it is it's 24/7.
Right. Right.
It is literally all the time. Like, I'm studying all the time.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
Right.
Doesn't matter what I'm watching, what I'm reading, who I'm listening to, I'm always studying. So we seek the King, and we seek the head of our marriage on issues regarding our relationship. We have a prayer life. This woman loves her some devotionals.
Yeah.
Devotionals, and I will read whatever devotional my wife sends me. But if she doesn't send me a devotional, I'll probably never crack a devotional open. I'm just not drawn to them.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, you're not drawn to it. Yeah.
I'm just drawn to the scriptures themselves. But I do believe devotionals help, and I see how they can help people. My wife may not want to run over to the book of Leviticus. But you gotta you have a devotional that will simplify Leviticus for her.
Right.
She's on it.
Yep.
But what about, like, what do couples need to do when the stakes are higher, when it's more of a traumatic ordeal? I mean, there's a number of things. How do you come back from infidelity or financial serious and severe mismanaging of fund? Like, honey, I'm sorry to tell you, we're losing the house. I mean, that kind of stuff. It's like,
yeah, that's like, those are like deal breakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know. It's like
some of those deal breakers could actually be deal breakers, where it's like, okay, well, that's it.
Right. Like, so we about to be homeless? I guess we're finished. Because it's like, or am I supposed to go be homeless with you?
Right. Or like,
you put us in this situation.
Or it leads to that separation, that leads to that divorce.
Exactly.
Like, it's just, okay, well, that's it.
Right.
This one is
and
a wrap.
especially if you don't go get a mediator. If you don't go talk to somebody, if you don't go to counseling.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
There it is.
If you don't go and say, ooh, we can't do this on our own, we need to talk to somebody, or we need to go to therapy, or whatever the case may be, if you got to bring another party in to fix it, because the two of you are going to constantly just butt heads, and you're not going to be able to fix it. And then next thing you know, you're just going to make that decision and be like, it's over.
Yeah. And then if one party in the marriage is responsible for severely wounding the other party, and that individual's like, right now, I love you with the love of the Lord, and you're the father or mother of my children, but I don't want to see you right now. Or I don't want to talk to you right now.
Right.
So what's that person that needs to be the repairer? So they may need to go get some help on their own.
Yeah, both parties, single, like, you get your help, I get my help, and then together as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the only way, outside of course, going to God and the prayer.
There doesn't need to be any frowning upon counseling or therapy.
Oh, yeah, no.
Or a psychiatrist or psychologist. Like, none of that needs to be frowned upon if you're really invested in the relationship and you want to.
You want to keep it.
You want to keep it. Because anything is fixable.
Yeah.
It's fixable. The work. God did not allow for divorces in Scripture because it was His will. He desired that two come together and remain together. He didn't create the institution of marriage for there to be divorces, but there are divorces. And if you've gone through a divorce, or if you're going through a divorce, there's no judgment here. Sometimes things they just don't work out. Maybe there wasn't enough interrogation, or maybe just something new popped up that was unexpected, and you see it as irreparable. Maybe another couple would say, we could work through that. So, there's no judgment. But even in those situations, Paul was very clear. He said, dare not any of you bring these matters before a judge. So really, we should be able to, whatever it is, like we should be able to resolve it without the courts.
Right.
We should be able to resolve it, except for the part that's necessary. Like, getting a divorce is obviously a document you must sign.
Right.
There are some things that have to be done, but the extra stuff isn't necessary because you should be able to resolve those things, on your own.
On your own, right? Exactly.
So again, we're not frowning upon anyone whose marriage did not work out. I'm just simply saying God did not create the institution of marriage for an individual to get divorced. And then nobody wakes up on their wedding day like, man, I cannot wait. In a few hours, I'm going to marry the woman I'm going to divorce in 3 years. Like, nobody's doing that.
Yeah. It's not a plan.
It's not a plan.
Yeah.
So again, when you come across those heavier issues where communication between the two parties may not be enough, and you got to be willing to, if you want it fixed, you got to be willing to seek help elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of egos in marriage, males and females.
True.
Where they're like, oh, well, we can't fix this, and they're saying we can't fix this because it's them that can't fix it. And so since they can't fix it, or I can't fix it, or you can't fix it, well, then that's it.
Yeah.
But did you go see someone? Did you go talk to the couple who's been married for 58 years?
Right.
And did you? I mean, there should be more marital counseling happening amongst the congregants. The young couples should be looking at these old couples, and maybe all you see is what you see on Sunday, but asking, can we go to lunch?
Yeah.
Just ask you some questions. How long have you guys been married? You've been married for 47 years? Well, we've been married for 47 days. And so is it possible that we could, just pick your brain about that adorable couple? Remember? We were just on vacation outside of the hotel, and they had to be married longer than they were married longer than we've both been alive.
Yeah.
But we were helping them with technology. We were helping them with the valet tickets. And the next thing you know, we're all having a conversation. Yeah. And so I just slipped it in. What's the secret to a long-lasting marriage? They've been married like what?
I can't remember what they said.
It was near 70, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. So, I mean, these are strangers. We didn't know them, but we were just like, what's your secret sauce? Everybody may have a unique secret sauce. We're like, well, and I don't even remember what they said.
She said there was really no secret.
That's probably why I don't remember. Because she didn't really say anything specific.
Yeah, she didn't.
But
she just was talking about how they just enjoy life together.
Right.
They just enjoy it. We were like,
that's what they
we
were
were like,
saying.
oh, friendship. That's what we always say.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
They just enjoy each other's company, and she said that we
found things that we like to do together. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because she said he was more outgoing, so she would kind of go like, oh, okay, well, yeah, let's give it a try. Right. She wanted to go and do whatever he wanted to do, and then that's how she started liking things and different experiences. So it's like
before you get that divorce, have you consulted with those that have gone through this and have been at it longer than you?
Right.
So ultimately, again, it's the word that has to be first and foremost, that has to be preeminent. And any conflict, again, can be resolved. We once again talked about effective communication, and just to briefly go over it, whatever it is that we need to discuss. If it's your royal blue Jordan and I want to discuss the cool gray Jordan, you go first. You talk about the royal blue Jordan.
Right.
I'm only listening to you about it, and when you're done, you'll let me know, and then I'll respond to you just about the Jordan, your Jordan, not my Jordan. I'm not bringing my Jordan up yet.
Right.
Responding to you about yours, and when we've reached a place where you're good, you feel like
satisfied or whatever.
Then we'll talk about mine, and we'll follow the same pattern, and that should just be repeated, in anything that you have a back and forth about. And then, of course, if you need to get some help, get some help, and just be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, our help comes from the Lord. So thank you, darling, for joining me again.
Thanks for having me again.
It's much appreciated, and I'll probably get, once this message goes forth and it airs, I'll get a lot of texts about how much they love you and like you more than they like me. So Exciting time to be alive. Thank you all again, as always, for supporting financially. Your giving, your intercessions, your prayers. We appreciate it. It allows the ministry to go forth. It allows this podcast endeavor to go forth. And I believe we had a good, successful first season, and I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward. And who better to close it out with than my good buddy, my pal, the love of my life, my wife Angel. And we look forward to what else the Spirit will do through the House Arrest podcast. So thank you all for tuning in for all these sessions, and we'll see you next time.